Hey, it's Pastor Tim, the online campus pastor here at Northwest Church, and I am so glad you decided to join us on YouTube today. We have an exciting message for you today, so make sure you are engaged, leaned in, and taking notes. And if you haven't yet, make sure to like and share the video. Also remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you can stay up to date with all things happening here on the YouTube channel. Now let's jump into the sermon.
Now, I just want to give you a little heads up. If you're real sensitive, you might want to skip the next few weeks and just stay home, because I'm really going to dive into some subjects that I think are very important. Now, one of the things that I pray often about is my motive in preaching sermons. And the Bible, I'm in this thing right now in Proverbs and reading. And, the Bible tells us many are the ways of man. We don't even know our own heart. We don't even know our own motives. So I pray often about my motive. And I want you to know I feel my motive today on preaching on some of the things I'm going to talk about today. The week after Easter, I'm going to preach a message on separation of church and state. Is I believe that you as Christ's follower, and especially this young generation that's coming up, need to hear a biblical view of all of the things that's taking place in our world today. And for too long, we as a church, we've copped out of this. And we said, we don't want to touch this because of the politics. It's no longer about politics. I want you to know this is about good and evil. It's about right and it's about wrong. And so it's not about politics. We transcended that. We've passed that. So some of the things I'm talking about today, has nothing to do with politics. Has everything to do with a political view of some of these things and what our response as a church should be. So there's my heart and there's my motive this morning. So I want to start with this. As I look and listen, it's obvious today that people are angry, they are fearful, they are confused, they are giving up, and they are very divided. It feels as if the media today purposely fans the flames of fear, anger, and division. That's my take on it. When I watch it, it's all they're doing is fanning the flames of this stuff that's already taken place. As a result, people have a lot of questions today, and they're asking a lot of questions today, such as, what are we going to do? Who should I vote for? Is the church going to survive? And some even ask, am I going to survive? And here's a question I hear often. It's one that I think about as a dad. What will the future look like for our children and for our grandchildren? And when people today say, well, I just don't want to get involved, and let me tell you what's at stake. The future of our children and our grandchildren, that's what's at stake. And that's why we have to get involved in what's going on in our world today. And when I look around, there are plenty of reasons to be concerned about the direction and the state of our nation. Racial tension is high. Unborn children die daily, all in the name of my body and my choice. We lead the world in producing pornography. Addiction to prescription drugs is at an all-time high, and our police officers are intentionally targeted in our streets. Suicide, debt, alcoholism, and political corruption, it's off the chart. And I'm not even going to get on crime. I even read early this morning where a man was arrested on a New York subway for carrying and waving an axe. Visualize that. Think about that. Another news story this week where someone just with no motive walks up and shoots someone in the head simply for walking down the street. I'm just telling you guys, the lid of lawlessness is off in America and around this world. For the first time in our history, America is no longer considered a Christian nation. And as a leader, I think, there's no way that this thing can get any more bizarre. And then I read things like this. Recently, students at Harvard University shut down the police on campus because they felt that they were being watched. Schools in Colorado have sent letters to parents stating they're no longer going to have class rankings. People actually believe a male can become pregnant. USA Today recently named a biological male as their female of the year. I just read the other day where this biological male was having a nervous breakdown on television because the doctor said he could not get pregnant. Let that sink in for a moment. Society is determined to redefine. Here's what's wrong with all of this. Society is determined to redefine God's creation of male and female. That's what's wrong about this. So much for just follow the science. You know what it is? It's pride at the very high level. It's pride to say, God, this is who you created. This is what you created. You created male and you created female, but we're going to redefine what you have already defined. That is pride at its height, ladies and gentlemen. It gets worse. In a recent basketball game, ESPN had a moment of silence to protest a law in Florida that simply prohibits, get this, primary grade level children from being taught sexual orientation or gender identity. I know what the media says. It's don't say gay bill. Don't listen to the media. Go read the bill. I have. That's what parent wants their child, kindergarten through third grade, being taught sexual orientation and gender identity. Who wants that? Think about this. You can't make this stuff up. Disney parks are axing gender language such as boys and girls. That was just announced this past week. And their park greetings to promote gender inclusion. This stuff is just crazy to me. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican or an independent or none of the above. This world has lost its mind, and more than its mind, we have lost our soul. We have lost our spiritual way today. So the question is, it's not the problem. What is the answer? What do we do? Does the church stand by and watch as America slides down the slippery slope to hell? And that's where we're going, ladies and gentlemen. Do we start a political party? Do we picket and petition? When a nation has lost its spiritual way, what should be the response of the church? Well, for starters, I want you to take a deep breath. It's not the first time a Christian nation has gone off the tracks. In the Old Testament, we read where Israel, that's God's people, was on a spiritual and political roller coaster. What I mean by that, they would spend a time crying out to God. They would ask for forgiveness of their sins. They would burn their idols. And then a time of peace and prosperity would follow. Then the people would get comfortable, and then they would take their blessings for granted, and then that cycle would start all over again. King Solomon comes on the scene, and he builds a temple in honor of the Lord. The dedication of the temple was an outpouring of worship and celebration. It was a celebration. It was in that celebration that God spoke to Solomon and said, when my people turn away from me, here is what I want you to do. Well, I want you to know what I'm about to read to you today, it was true for Israel then, and it's true for you and I and America today. So when we have lost our spiritual way, what should be the response of the church, and what should we do? That's what I'm going to unpack. 2 Chronicles chapter 7, begin reading in verse 14. Are y'all still with me today? Here we go. He says, then if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, and if they will seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, he said, I will hear from heaven, I will forgive their sins, and I will restore their land. It's a powerful verse, isn't it? This should be the church's response to the chaos that's happening in America today. This should be our response. This is how we will see real and lasting change. Now, I want to show you this because I think this is a must. You got to get this part of it. God, the audience of this, when God sends this and Solomon speaks to this people, it was not for the non-Christ followers. It was not for people outside of the church. This verse was written to people inside the temple. So these are people who believed in God. So he's not talking to the non-believers, but he's talking to the believers. How often do we feel the problem is them? As a church, how often do we point our finger and say the problem with America today is not us as Christ followers, but it's those who do not accept Christ? As a follower of Christ, God's plan for America, it starts with us, not a political party. What I'm talking about today, biblical and not political, is the answer today. And I believe the reason that we are stumbling and can't find the answer and can't find our way today, because our hope and our faith is in a political party or a political figure instead of getting in a word and turning to God. I want you to know that no political party has the answer, no political figure has the answer, but God and His Word has the answer then, and His Word has an answer for us today. So if we want an answer for America and the chaos that's taking place, we got to turn to God. That's what this is all about today. God's answer may not be what we want to hear, but it's the right answer because it's God's answer. So let's unpack this today. Number one, it's in your notes. Number one, turn from self. Look back with me. He says, then if my people who are called by my name, so he's talking to his people, will humble, I want you to underline that word humble themselves, highlight that word, and pray, highlight that, because I'm going to talk about that. The word humble means to submit, watch this, and bend the knee. It means to submit by bending the knee. So each time that you have an altar, whether that's in your home or whether that's at the church, we ask you to come. People ask, why do we kneel? Because it's an act, it's a display, it's a demonstration that we are submitting to a power that's higher than ours. We're submitting to God who is above us. That's what that means. And that word pray, it means to intercede. Intercede. So if we will humble ourselves, meaning if we will bow, if we will submit our will to His will, and we will intercede on behalf of America, come on, God will hear our prayer. He will answer our prayer. He will heal our land, and He will restore us today. Submission reveals we don't have all the answer. That's what that means. It's arrogant to think that we are the answer to our problems today. It's very arrogant. God's answer for America is for us to turn away from ourselves and turn to Him in humility and prayer. It seems simple, it sounds simple, but how often is it the last thing that we do? It's like prayer is the last resort anymore. Without prayer, we're simply relying on us. But with prayer, we are relying on God. But how often do we seek answers through politics and not prayer? How often do we think if we can just elect the right people and act the right laws, that America would turn around? America's problem is not a political problem, it's a spiritual problem. A political answer will not solve a spiritual problem. I want you to visualize with me. How often do we think if we can just elect the right president, if we can just elect a president, every official, federal, state, and local, all who believe just like us as a church, then that will solve all of our problems. What if we got all the laws right, from zoning to tax codes, immigration to crime bills? Would that solve all of our problems? Will all marriage issues be resolved? Would that solve the problems of sexual immorality and addiction? Would racism, division, hate, and anger all of a sudden disappear if we could just get the right people in office? The answer to all of that is absolutely no, because no human system has the ability to change, come on, the human heart today. God spoke to the prophet Isaiah in chapter 17 and verse 5. He said, cursed are those who put their trust in mere humans. That's the voice of God. Cursed, that word in Greek, it simply means to be condemned. So when we take our trust, take it away from God and put it into human, whoever that human may be, in ourselves sometimes, God says, I will condemn that. Who put their trust. That word trust in Greek means to put their confidence. That's what's taking place in America today. It's what's taking place in this world today. I get it. It's all in alignment. It's all headed to the Antichrist. I get all of that. But for you and I today as Christ followers, we cannot put our hope, our faith, and our trust and our confidence in mere humans. Rather, we got to put our hope and our faith and trust in God who is above. That's where our hope needs to be today. Hear my heart. I am all for Christ followers in politics at every level. I want you to know that. I believe we've sat on the sidelines too long. And if we don't get involved in what's going on in our world today, because let me tell you, you got to hear my heart today. This is not about race. This is not about gender. This is about right and wrong. This is about good. This is about evil. There is an antichrist spirit in this world that is after your and my religious freedom today. This is what this is all about. You got to see what it really is. I just want you to know I'm for all of that. We can no longer sit on the sideline. We got to get involved. But never mistake our involvement for God's answer. Yeah. God is the answer. Number 2, turn to Christ. He says, then if my people who are called by my name, if they will humble themselves and they will pray, watch this, and seek my face. The only answer for America is Christ. The answer to suicide, addiction, discouragement, depression, division, fear, hate, war, and racial tension, you know what it is? It's Christ. It is Christ who unites us. He is more powerful than anything or anyone who attempts to divide us. And we must unite as Christ followers regardless of our race, age, or gender. There is a war being waged in America today. It's an all-out assault on our biblical beliefs and our religious freedoms today. That's what it is. It's a war against not just you, it's a war against God. It's a war against His Word. It's a war against our biblical beliefs. And if you and I don't take a stand today, then when? I was praying this morning and I was thinking about this. It's not the politics that guide my life. I have political views, but those views don't guide my life. My political views, as every view in my life, should be and is guided to the best of my ability by God's Word. And that's what's wrong with America today. We're allowing a political platform or a view or a party to be the driver to determine the path and our beliefs. You know what determines our belief? It is the Word of God. Parents, let me help you today. Set your children down on a daily basis and teach them the Word of God. I love what Pastor John and Maya are doing where they're reading through the Bible in a year. We have students that are getting up at 6 a.m. to read the Bible. Come on, somebody. I think that's a powerful thing. And parents, you need to get involved because you are primarily responsible for raising your children and to teach them what they know. That way, when they sit in a classroom or a friend tries to tell them something that is contrary to the Word, at least they will know the biblical perspective on every issue they're going to hear in their life and they're going to face. We've just sat too long and said, well, I'll leave that to the church. I'll leave that to the small group leader. I'll leave that to the youth or kids department. That's part of it. We want to help. But you got to teach your children what's right and wrong. You got to sit your kids down on a daily basis and everybody's about mentoring and coaching today. Those are buzzwords. Those are hot items today. Well, be a mentor to your family. Be a coach to your family because that is your first responsibility. My greatest desire is for my son to be in heaven one day. And even though he's in college and playing baseball and his schedule is crazy, man, I'm indoctrinating that kid every day. I'm sending him messages every day. I'm sending him words every day of encouragement and sending him scripture every day and letting him know, son, your dad is praying for you today. Come on, guys, y'all not helping me out very much. Let's start right now, turning from self and turning to Christ with humility and prayer. You see, prayer acknowledges God, our Creator, has the answers and not His humble creation. When we lift our hands or bow our knees, you know what it is? It's an act of surrender. It's an act of submission. It reflects a humble heart. It starts here with us, guys. We have God's answer. We just aren't doing it. Because humility in prayer is not flashy or fun. Prayer is much more difficult than forwarding an angry email or boycotting a business. Prayer puts the emphasis on God instead of us. If we want our land healed, it starts with humbling ourselves and turning from us and returning to Christ. We as a church need to turn back to Christ. That's where it starts. Number 3, turn from sin. This is the last part of this. Solomon says, and turn from their wicked ways. That word wicked, I want to show you this because that was an interesting word to me because when I looked it up in the original, I've been saying Greek, but it's Hebrew earlier in Jeremiah. I misspoke on that, so save your email. But the Greek here, I want to show you this word. It means evil. You understand this? It means evil. Turn from your wicked, turn from your evil ways. That's what God calls behavior that is not in alignment with His Word. Wicked and evil. Now hang on, it's about to get a little tough, okay? How often as Christ followers are we quick to point out the sins on the outside, but slow to point out the sin on the inside? There's something wrong when just as many people inside the church struggle with pornography and sexual addiction as those outside. There's something wrong when we tolerate greed, gossip, and gluttony and pretend they aren't sin. Something is not right when we refuse to resolve conflict according to God's instruction. I see that all the time. especially after the pandemic. Everybody just gets mad and, just quit and walk away. Does relationship, people are leaving churches and jobs and relationship. No, we have a different set of rules as Christ followers to resolve our conflict in a biblical way. So if we have unresolved conflict, don't be praying for God's blessing on your life. Don't be praying for God's blessings on your finances or your family. No, you got to go get that conflict resolved. Come on, guys, I'm trying to help you today. And today, people in the church no longer give to God's work. 50% of people who attend church today don't tithe. That's staggering to me, okay? Look at this stuff, okay? Keep in mind, the scripture was from God to his people. We must turn from our sin. Turn simply means to change direction. It means a course correction, a new path, or the opposite way. America has lost its way because the church has lost its way. We have spent too much time trying to be liked by the world, and we want the world to like us. Let me tell you, the Bible says that you're going to be hated by this world, not because of you, but because who you follow today. So if we're going to be hated by this world, why do we try to make everything look like and feel like the world? I say no longer. I say when people come to church, they hear the Word of God preached. They experience authentic worship, and we have an altar response. Come on, people need to experience the presence and the power of God when they come to church. It ought to be something different that happens inside the church. If we're going to clean up America, let's start with the church. If we want God to heal our land, we must first acknowledge our own need for spiritual healing. We need to make a U-turn. I'm talking about us today. Are we more excited about a concert or a ball game as we are worshiping in church? Is our church attendance more important than sleeping in or catching up on projects and homework? I'm amazed with church attendance today. They say today, church gurus study this, say that if you attend 1 out of 4 Sundays, you're a regular attender. There's nothing regular. Brush your teeth 1 out of 4 days. Go home to your family 1 out of 4 days. Show up to work 1 out of 4 days. Come on. Pay your bill 1 out of every 4 times and let me know how that works out. There's nothing regular. Let me tell you something, moms and dads. You're setting a trend on church attendance, not just for you, but for your children. Come on. We need to make church attendance important and relevant again. We need to get up every morning and say, we are going to the house of God. It doesn't matter what's going on. It's important. Because people need what takes place. They need that encouragement. They need God's word. Come on. Because Monday through Saturday, you're not going to have all of this. I get it. I'm a great preacher. That's why people come 1 out of 4. They say, hey, it's just all I need. That was sarcasm, okay? If we are Christ followers, if we, as God's people, I'm going to show you something. I'm almost done. If we will turn from our sin, I want you to watch this. Here's the voice of God. He says, I will hear from heaven. He said, I will forgive their sins. He said, I will restore their land. That word restore in the Greek, are you ready for this? It's a medical word. It's a medical term. And that word means to mend. Visualize going to the doctor and getting mended, sewed up with stitches. God said, if my people will humble themselves, if they will pray, if they will seek my face, if they will turn from their evil, their wicked ways, he said, I will hear from heaven. I will heal their land. And I will restore. That word restore, when I looked that up, I visualized God reaching down on our nation and with his hands mending and stitching the wounds and the division and the hatred and the racism and all of these things that divide us today. He's stitching us up. And that's what that means when he says, I will restore. That's what he says. He said, I'm going to heal and I'm going to mend the brokenness and all the hurt that's happened. Come on, do you get that? May God restore sexual purity in the church. May he restore our marriages, our habits, the way we resolve conflict, restore our broken relationships today. God, hear our prayer of repentance. Heal and restore America today. Come on, guys. We got to pray. That word pray there means to intercede on behalf of America. America. Let's not live another day without every day getting on our knees and humbling ourselves before God and interceding on behalf of America, because you're praying for not only America, but you're praying for the very future of your children and your grandchildren. Come on, we got to once again pray and intercede for America. Now let's get personal. Let's make this very personal. Y'all hear my heart today? I'm broken. What's going on in our nation? It troubles me what my son's going to face in his lifetime if God chooses not to send his son back. This starts with me. This starts with me. Read this with me. If Joe, put your name there. If Joe, who is called by my name, will humble himself and pray, and if Joe will seek my face, and if Joe will turn from his wicked and evil ways, then I will hear from heaven. I will forgive his sin, and I will heal his land. Put your name in that place and make it personal today. Let me tell you something. The answer is not in politics. The answer is right here, and it's with us. If we will just do what we're supposed to do, instead of pointing our finger at all of these non-believers and all, we got to start with us. Will you stand with me this morning?
Again, we want to thank you for joining us here on YouTube, and if you have made a decision to follow Christ today, make sure to leave a comment down below or to let us know at northwestchurch.tv. Well, if God has encouraged and strengthened you through this message, make sure to share this video with your friends, and we'll see you next time.